You're about to watch me read Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. This book is given Good Girl's Guide to Murder vibes. Basically, from my understanding, what this book is about is a girl and her best friend. Something happens one night and everybody thinks that she killed her best friend. And so I don't know how, maybe she's in jail or anything like that, doesn't seem like. And she goes off to live her life in LA. And then there's this true crime podcast that comes out with a very attractive looking host. And what happens is that he starts to investigate the murder of this girl's best friend. And so she has to go back to that place and kind of like uncover the murder to find out, like, did she actually kill her best friend? Like, what happened that night? And so I'm honestly really hyped about this book. I'm really excited about it. It really is, like I said, given a Good Girl's Guide to Murder vibes. And I'm just like so excited. So as you can guess, I have really high expectations. But wait, we know the drill. This is a hardcover with the dust cover. So we gotta take the dust cover off and find out if there's a nice design underneath. I hope there is. But I feel like there isn't. This is where I got it from. If anybody who creates like book covers is watching, please put pretty designs underneath the dust covers like Rebecca Ross does with Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows, because that is beautiful. There's nothing more exciting than taking off a dust cover and having a little design underneath. So this is my request. So yeah, let's crack the book open for real now. I'm a little bit more than 100 pages into Listen for the Lie, and here are my thoughts so far. So far, I'm really enjoying the book. My only slight critique is it feels like the author is trying a little bit too hard to be funny, but maybe that's just me, maybe that's just how I feel about it. But everything else is great. I really like you get kind of two perspectives, at least at the moment. So you get Lucy's, who is kind of like our main character, and she's pretty much the murder suspect of her best friend Savannah, known as Savvy, who died. And so everybody thinks that she did it, and she actually can't remember anything about the event, and so she can't really prove anything, but you also can't disprove anything. So it's interesting to see she basically left her small Texas town to move to LA, and that was 5 years ago when all of this happened. And so obviously she hasn't been back because small towns, people talk, everybody knows everybody, and she doesn't want to be the pariah. She doesn't want to potentially get attacked or anything, and she doesn't actually remember did I do that? She's I don't think I did that. Why would I do that? But she doesn't know for sure. So she's always questioning herself, and she has this really intrusive voice in her head that's constantly telling her, let's kill. Or another example would just be very intrusive thoughts of killing some random person. She's in a grocery store and she's getting some squash, and she's imagine, oh, I could take the squash and I could hit the lady across the head with it and she would die. And she's like, ugh, why am I thinking like that? So she has really intrusive thoughts from the traumatic event that happened, but she can't remember. And so these events, these thoughts are kind of reinforcing her own belief that maybe she did do it. But we as readers, we have no idea, and she doesn't know. So again, I think this is a bit of an unreliable narrator, which I love. The other side of the story is the podcaster, and his name is Ben Owens, and he has the podcast called Listen for the Lie, and he's basically investigating this murder that everybody thinks Lucy did. And so it's cool because you get to see the transcription from the podcast of him interviewing these people, so you get to see a bunch of different perspectives, and again, it's really given a Good Girl's Guide to Murder vibes, which I dig so hardcore. I imagine he's probably going to be love interest of sorts, just it just seems that kind of vibe. If so, that would be good because I love. So some events occur, and Lucy actually ends up going back to her small town, and she kind of runs into some people. Some people are honestly pretty excited to see her, but 99.9% of the people are ugh, what is she doing here? They're mad. The brother of Savvy was really mad and started moving up to her, maybe maybe he was gonna like punch her or something, but she managed to like get out of that kind of situation. So it's interesting to see just like how the town resents her and why she didn't want to come back. And so I'm curious to see like where the story's gonna go. Like I imagine she and the podcaster guy are gonna like work together to figure out what actually happens. I'm excited about that. I have some theories about who the murderer is, and because we don't know, I'm gonna tell you them. My murder suspects are Lucy's dad, Lucy's ex-husband. These are my 2 murder suspects at the moment. And I don't know, right? Like I haven't finished the book, so I could be completely off, but that's what I think right now. And obviously I'm not gonna tell you if I'm right. So yeah, I'm gonna continue to read and I'll update you around the halfway mark. So I'll see you in my next update. So I'm now a little bit more than halfway through Listen for the Lie, and there's some interesting stuff happening. First off, Lucy's grandmother is iconic. I love this lady. She's like what I imagine like all Texas grandmas to be like. She's just so great. I love her. And then what's also interesting is like now that Lucy is like kind of in her hometown and all that stuff, she started to remember a little bit about like her friendship with Savvy, who is not what everybody thinks. Like they have the roles reversed. Everybody thought that like Lucy was the one who was like, you know, like party girl, sleep with people, like maybe murder somebody kind of vibe. And they're like, no, but Savvy was like the nice, the bubbly, cheerful, like just like kind soul. But they kind of forgot like the other half of her personality. And so it's really interesting to see just like how Lucy is remembering this stuff about her friend and how much she misses her friend. Also, like we learn more about her ex-husband and we get some really great like interviews like on the podcast and all of that. So I'm excited to see like where the rest of the book goes. I want to find out like what happened, and yeah, it's just like really entertaining. It's very fast paced. It's written decently well. The characters are fun to follow along. There was a fade to black and I was like, no, but that's okay. So yeah, I'm gonna continue to read. I'm excited to see like where the book is gonna go, like what the resolution of this is going to be. Like imagine Lucy actually is guilty this entire time. Like that would be a plot twist. I'm hoping for a nice big plot twist. So I'll update you a little bit towards the end or when I finish the book. So I'll see you in my next update. Last night I finished Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera, and I also started it yesterday afternoon, so this was, yeah, a very fast read for me. I had a great time reading this book. It was so like fast-paced, the chapters were really short, so it really felt like you were going through a lot of content really quick. There were a lot of like incorrect leads, like you think, oh, like this is the murderer, or oh, this is what happened, and then eventually like when you get to the end you're like, oh, it's actually like this is what happened. And I thought that was pretty cool. I think maybe I wish that there were a little bit more hints about the murderer, because it felt like you were kind of discovering stuff as the characters were, which I believe was the intent, but I don't know, I felt like the resolution at the end was a little bit anticlimactic. Like it felt like it just suddenly happened, which I was a little bit disappointed about, because the rest of the pacing of the book was so good and like so captivating, but then like towards the last quarter I was like, oh, like what? Oh, okay. Like I don't know, but the rest of it was good. Like I had a fun time reading it. It was good. I liked the main character a lot. She was incredibly sarcastic, incredibly realistic, and just like a really great kind of narrator to follow along. I think that she really made the book like a little bit extra special. I also liked the podcaster Ben Owens. I think that I would have liked a little bit more about like learning about his character, but he was definitely like interested, at least on like the surface level. Like he wasn't your standard like knight in shining armor or anything. He was a little bit strange, and like it was good because he really complements like Lucy's character. So two kind of odd people with odd interests and stuff. Like they just kind of worked very well together throughout the whole story. So I thought that was cool. I just wish that there was a little bit more about him. Like, what's his story? Like, we only got like a little bit of details that like he was a bit of a nerd in high school and that he's always loved like true crime and he was a journalist in the past, and but like what else? What else do I want to know more about him. That's like, I felt like that was missing. I loved her grandma. Her grandma was so funny. It was unfortunate that she had a very obvious like addiction of sorts, and so I hope that this character gets better because they kind of like played fun at it, but it is like a very serious thing that people deal with. A little less humor directed towards that, just because like it's not really a joke like the kind of stuff that the grandma deals with. So yeah, and then the same thing with like Matt and like Nina, like these characters as well. So I thought that it was cool that they kind of like incorporated that. I just think that it could have been handled a little bit better, but I like that there were a bunch of different characters with a bunch of different motives, and like it was fun. I had a good time with that. My favorite part was definitely like the podcast transcriptions, because you're kind of like learning with the characters, and it was just like really well done. It was definitely like well thought out and well written, especially like for the transcription parts. I think that it fell flat in a few areas, but overall it was a fun read, and like I said, I read it in a day, so I think that I'm going to be awarding Listen for the Lie a total of 4 stars. So the next book that I'm going to be reading is Edge Dancer by Brandon Sanderson. This is the first novella in the Stormlight Archive series, so I've read the first book and the second book. This is book 2.5, and then I can read 3 and 4, and then I believe there's another novella that I think comes after the 4th, or it comes after the 3rd. I'll have to double check that. But yeah, this is what I'll be reading next. So if you're interested in watching me read any Brandon Sanderson books or any other books on my TBR, I do have more mystery, thriller, romance, fantasy books in my queue. So if any of those sound interesting to you, and if you haven't already, definitely hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification. That way you get notified anytime a new video comes out. If you enjoyed this video and if you enjoyed the nice daylight outside of my screen here, definitely hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!